Hello YouTube. I'm going to explain the basics of dimensions on a bike and pros and cons of different parts on a bike. So I'm going to start with the frame. Frames, they come in all sizes, dimensions and stuff like that, and different materials. And I remember I just went for looks because I had no idea what these dimensions or different materials actually did. So I know that this frame is 100% chromoly, which chromoly is actually stronger than steel. It's like a mix of this chromoly and steel, and it makes it even stronger. A lot of places, or a lot of frames, just do either the seat post or the seat post and the top tube, or just the whole thing. Like that's the basics. Then there's just straight steel, and then there's different grades of steel. I don't know what the difference between those are, but okay. So chainstay. Chainstay is the triangle. These are the chainstays. The longer they are, the harder it is to spin, but the easier it is to go fast forward. When they are short, it gives you less area and you can spin on this back tire like really easy. Like, I can't think of a frame, but like frames that have really small slammed kind of ones. Head tube angle. The higher the number, the more straight up it is. And the more straight up it is, the easier it is to go backwards. A lot of trail frames will be out more, which is a smaller number. They average around 75.5, which is like the basic 75 or 75.5. So that's usually the basic for all frames. A lot of more trails bikes, like the Kink Mud Runner, or I think the Aiken maybe, I'm not completely sure. But I know the Mud Runner is a 74, so it's more out, and that makes it easier to go forward. The bottom bracket height, I'm not sure why they measure that, if it's from the ground down or I don't know. Pretty sure it's ground down, but it's going to be how low your bottom bracket sits pretty much. I can't think of like why it would matter, but it does some way. A lot of people give me crap for having my seat as high as it is, but the only reason I have it this high is because when I sit down, really. And I did originally learn bar spins like 2 years ago, and I still haven't even tried to learn them. But I liked the way it was when it was high. It felt comfortable to sit down. And people always say it's going to go up my ass, but I've never done that. Whenever I tuck in really far, I go to the seat. I've had this tire in my ass a lot. Never my seat. The only issue I've had with it is I've actually had my leg get stuck in there, and that was scary. Bars. There's steel and chromoly. Chromoly's better. It's more expensive. With sizes, the taller the bars, the easier it is to pull up, but they're also harder to bar spin. And same with the width. The wider they are, you have more control, but it's harder to bar spin. Let's go to pedals. I run Mission pedals, whatever the Mission metal ones are. I can't even remember what they're called, but I love metal pedals. My reason I love metal pedals is because they never die. Like, these pedals are 5 years old, the bearings are still, they feel brand new still, and the pegs are still long. It's not even close to being done with. One I've noticed with plastic pedals, people are replacing them every like half year, a year. And these are 5 years growing strong. The only downside to them is major shinners. Like, I've had, like, I could barely bump into my pedals and it would make me start bleeding. I wear shin pads because of it. And as you can see, they're like wrecked. If those were my shins, I'd be a lot of pain. Okay. Stems. There's front load and top load, and slanted, which is considered top load. But I get shit for top load or front load because they say it's weaker, which is understandable, but that's only if you're doing a lot of drop kind of things. Otherwise, it would take a long time for it to even break. And what breaks is the bolts. Because with front load, you got the 4 bolts, and all the pressure's on those bottom 2 bolts. Every time you land on something, it's those bolts that are holding you up. On front load, you got the whole stem holding you up instead. And it's understandable about how it's better. Most of them are aluminum. I think they have some chromoly ones, but I'm not sure. Front loads also sit the bars up higher too. Like if you want height, front loads. Like different front loads will give you different heights. Offsets. The closer it is to the fork, like the spindle of the fork, the more responsive it is. So the more out it is, the more effort it takes to turn it. Once right here, you turn it and it just straight. It's like a scooter. You could either go from this, and they have actually straight up stems that are like, they have straight up stems, like straight stems that are full response, which are mainly used for flatland, I think. But I don't know, I've always liked, mine is a 53 millimeter offset, and it's my favorite, I guess. I don't know what the benefit would be to having less or more. I just like how this is. Forks. There's a lot of different kinds of forks. It's stupid like what kind of forks there are. They have normal forks, they have tapered, which means that they go thick and go thinner as they get to the dropouts, which adds structure, like strength, structure support. Then there's normal dropouts, and then there's female hub dropouts, which I barely found out about like last month. But they don't even have, like, it's not even a slot, it's like a full thing that only a female hub would do. They also, there's some that the forks can get in the way of grinding, like you'll grind on your forks. There's some forks that even have like a cutout kind of right there, so it's all peg instead of fork. Makes your forks last longer. Okay, hubs. There are a lot of hubs, a lot of different designs. There's like everything. There's the generals. There's now 3. I would consider 3. There's cassettes, free coasters, and now the Z coaster, which is pretty much a free coaster, but I'll explain. But with cassettes and free coaster, cassettes have, like, they're called pals, but they're pretty much teeth, and the inside of the hub is like has teeth too, and the pals will, like, the clicking you hear in a cassette hub is the pals like hitting, and then when you're going forward, when you're pedaling, it locks into the teeth. A cassette hub or a free coaster hub, I have never seen the inside of a free coaster hub, so I don't know exactly how it works, but it's like this weird kind of clutch type thing. I don't know how to explain it, but they don't have teeth. Well, like they do, but they don't have it the same way. They do not make any noise at all. And the only difference is, since the teeth on a hub lock in, when you go backwards, they are locked. So you have to pedal backwards to compensate. Free coaster, you don't have to pedal backwards. You can just roll backwards. The only major downside to it is that there's more maintenance involved, and it has slack, and I do not like slack. But from what I've heard, like, you can free coasters, you buy them and have a full crank or half crank of slack, and I think that would just kill me. I would die. Plus, I do too many pumps. I can't. No, I like pedaling backwards too. It just makes. I like the way it looks. I think it's kind of shrimpy to coast backwards, in my opinion. And then the Z Coaster. Profile just barely came out with that. And basically, it's a free coaster that makes noise. That's all it is. I've heard like different rumors about it and stuff, but no, it's a normal free coaster. It just makes noise. That's all it does. Okay. Now, there's female hubs and there's male hubs, but that's mainly just the axle. You can switch them out with most hubs. So mine is a male. They have like the axle, the bolts go around the axle. A female hub is the opposite. The bolts screw into the axle. So the axle has the threading. The ups and downs for both of them. I honestly think that female hubs look better. It looks cleaner. But they're also not quite as strong as male axles are. Especially if you do grinding. Grinding, you'll break those bolts real easy. And if you snap a bolt, it's stuck in there and you have to replace it anyway, the whole thing. With male axles, they stick out further. They don't usually break they don't break as easy. But the only thing I absolutely hate about normal axles is, since they stick out and they're exposed on the ends, they get hit and stuff, they start to like I would say, mushroom, let's just say that, mushroom over. And so like a lot of times you'll get screwing your thing off to like put a peg on or something, and when you get to the very end, it's really hard and you have to really get it because of how smashed in it is. That's how my old one was before I snapped it. There's hollow axles too, which you're meant to save weight, but I don't really think axles give that much weight that you'd need a reduction. I have a hollow axle. It really makes it structurally weaker. Like, I'm not saying that they're terribly weak. Like, my old one was hollow and it was 5 years old before it snapped. It was a chromoly, just mission hollow axle. And I got the same one for pretty much. But solids are definitely stronger if you get a solid chromoly. Like, if a hollow lasts 5 years, imagine how much a solid lasts. Okay. Now, cranks. If you ever rode a little kid bike, now it feels like you're like doing this just to pedal a little bit, that's because of how short the cranks are. These, I like 175 millimeter. That's how long, I think that's like the average. It's either like 175 or 170 is the average. But I run 175s. And basically the bigger cranks, you'll have more spread in your feet, which if it's too big, then it's kind of ridiculous, but it also makes it kind of easier because then less 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 movement for more reaction. Less movement for more reaction. Same goes with sprockets. Bigger the sprocket, the more movement you'll have. The only trouble with both of them is the bigger, the harder. Like, you'll notice that it takes more effort to pedal a 28 tooth than a 25 tooth. And same with if you had if you went from a 150 to a 175, you'd notice how much harder it is. Drivers on hubs, I didn't mention this, but there's 9 tooth and 8 tooth, and I really don't see the point in an 8 tooth. All that I know that they do is destroy your hub, or not destroy your hub, but destroy your chain and the driver. It wears down a lot faster, and everything I've seen, I've never heard an explanation for why you would want an 8 tooth. Sealed bearings are definitely better than non-sealed bearings. If you can, just try to get a standard with either a mid or Spanish bottom bracket. And mid and Spanish is just the sizes. Like, I don't really need to explain. All you have to do is look them up and you can see Spanish is smaller but just as strong as a mid. Mid is the inner casing of an American, and or maybe not. Spanish is small but strong. Mid is strong but a little bit bigger. A Euro is a mid that screws in, I think. And then an American is just this big ass fucking bearing. They make ceramic bearings, which I'm not completely sure what ceramic bearings are, but I know that they're expensive as hell. Because King sells them for like $100 for a Spanish bottom bracket, for a ceramic bottom bracket, or a ceramic headset. Like $100 headset. Like, pretty sure it's just for racing, but I don't know. They're supposed to last a lot longer though. They're supposed to be a million times more durable. Okay. Bar ends. Bar ends are meant to protect your bars. Don't ever get rubber bar ends if you know what's good for you. Once they wear down, they become the biggest bitch to pull out. Pull out game not strong with rubbers. Like, the piece that goes inside the bar wants to stay there, while the outside part wants to come off. And so you get this problem where they stay in the bar, and it sucks ass. That's why I prefer metal. I don't trust plastic. Plastic breaks. Metal doesn't. Like, with this one, all you do is take an Allen key and unscrew it, and it loosens up and comes out. It uses like a wedge, so like the tighter it goes, the more it spreads out a ring, and that's how it tightens. They protect your bar end from like smashing in and like coping over, I guess, and that'd suck because then it'd like screw up the end of your grip and stuff. And I notice a lot of people don't, and they usually don't have that problem, but that's the reason why. Like, it takes a while, and there's not very often that you're going to hit the edge of your bar that hard, but that's the reason why. A lot of people, when they buy bars, they like to trim down the bars to their preferred width. That's actually why they make 30 wide bars and stuff. It's not because they're meant to be 30 wide, it's because they're meant to be cut down to where you want them. Even though you can use 30 wide, I use 28, I think. I like wide bars. I don't do bar spins. I can't. I suck. Rims. A lot of problem is rims. Rims will ruin your day if you have bad rims. You want double wall for sure. If it's not a double wall, it's going to break. Double wall rim, you can tell because if you just have the plain rim, not even a tube in it, like just the rim part, if you look in the hole for the valve stem, you'll see that there's like 2 layers in there. Single wall will just have the 1 layer. There will be 2 layers in double wall, obviously. And like with single walls, your rim goes like this, like it just tacos is the term. Seats. Seat is pretty much completely and utterly personal preference in every way because seats will not change very much with anything. It could be anything between comfort and weight. Mine is not very comfortable, but it's pretty light, which I don't really even care about weight, but I would actually rather have a fat seat. They're more comfortable, and a lot of people actually love fat seats for learning bar spins, so let me explain this. The reason I raised my seat to learn bar spins is because I was told that you would want to clamp your calves on your seat, because that would get your feet back far enough that your bars would clear and not hit you in the knee. With a fat seat, that makes it a lot easier because you don't have to like go like that to wrap it on there. There's also 3 different kinds of seats. There's railed, there's pivotal, and there's tripod. Railed is okay, but they kind of suck to change everything on, and they get loose easier. Pivotal's pretty nice, but they'll be more expensive because every company has to pay copyright to the company that designed this pivotal stuff. So they're going to be more expensive. But basically it's just like teeth locked in, and then there's a Allen in the middle that you just tighten, and all you have to do is like change the angle. You don't get to change front and back. And then there's tripods, which tripods is pretty much the cheap version if you don't want to pay for pivotals, because they're you put them on and it's stuck like that. Like you can't adjust it at all. Like just a solid piece, and then you just bolt your seat onto it. And there's also one piece, which is basically the same thing. You just can't change the seat. And there's a very slim amount of tripods. Like there's not very many good looking ones or anything like that. Pivotal's really the best way to go. It's a lot easier for everything. Like it's worth the extra money, I think. Well, this is my explanation on your BMX bike. I will do more in-depth on most parts in other videos, so look forward to those because they will come. And thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more, and I hope this video helped.